All right. I don't know if this is starting. It says starting. All right, looks like we're up. It says live now. Okay. uh, I guess it's sort of unannounced because my schedule's been changing, but I will slow roll this. Oh, hey, got someone. Hi. Anyway, I'll start now. Sorry, with all the stuff that's been going on, my schedule's been a little bit changing. I thought I was going to have more extended times to go do stuff, but it looks like I'm just going to have the occasional Fridays every other week for right now. But the good news is, well, there's bad news and good news. The first thing is I wanted to stream this bunch of photos I took on a trip from Thorndale to West Trenton and back in like 2002 or 3. But I don't have them on this computer, and I forgot to bring those along. But the good news is I did find what I call a one-day set of photos that I can do right now, taken in the Thanksgiving season of 2005, where I visited and got a ride along at the switching management service lines in what is it? The something or other industrial park. I had it a second ago. The Penn Warner Industrial Park near Morrisville, Pennsylvania. So I'm just going to go along with that one. It's a pretty neat time. So I'll start here with a preamble. I know no one's watching. I know I don't have a lot of people in the live chat, but if someone gets this, watches it on delayed. For many years, I usually do a Thanksgiving thing with one of my local South Jersey railfan friends. He's retired. We've been doing this at least since 2005, and possibly, I think even we were there earlier. But we will go out on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, do some stuff, and then usually get some Amtrak NEC photos at one of the stations on the R7 Trenton. This started because he had a friend that worked for SMS Lines, which I like to say stands for Switching Management Service. I think it's just the guy's initials. They run out of New Jersey's Pure Land Industrial Park, the Penn Warner Industrial Park in Morrisville, Pennsylvania, and they have another operation up in the Port of Albany or somewhere around Albany, New York. This is probably the largest user of Baldwin locomotives. They have a fleet of Baldwins. They buy them from museums to keep the other ones running. They have the only 6-axle Baldwin going, and currently I'm not sure what the engine they have now is, but at least when we were up at there, they had I know they have a Baldwin there, but I don't know if it's the same one still. But they basically run the switching operation for this industrial park. I think they do a pretty good job. It's business that the class ones definitely don't want, but they're happy to get carload volume coming out of this place. Anyway, for those who don't know, I'll just zoom out a bit more. Switch over to a Google map. So there's Trenton, New Jersey. There's Morrisville. This is sort of where the Morrisville yard used to be. The old Fairless Hills steel mill is down there. The old U.S. Steel complex, which I don't know what that is now. So again, there's U.S. Steel. There's the Morrisville yard. There's Trenton there. And then here's this Penn Warner Industrial Park. You can see it's pretty sizable. They got some pretty big operations. Ooh, a Kmart distribution center. Can't go wrong with Kmart. So let me just see who we got. Okay, we got some people watching now. So let me just I'll describe the rest of it as I go through and do my thing. So like I said, we did this for 2 years. I'll explain why it sort of stopped, but we would go. We'd meet up with Bob's friend, and then we would either shadow a combination of first year we shadowed them, taking pictures, and the second year we got cab ride. They just let us ride around, which was fun because it's the day before Thanksgiving, and this is sort of a satellite operation. So even if the bosses did care, I think SMS, I know they used to be way more railfan friendly down at their South Jersey facility, but then they started getting a lot of chemical operations, and they had to pass security certifications, so it kind of, you can't really just sort of roll in anymore. But they do hold events, and they're pretty friendly. Anyway, this, I'll know what this is in a second when I can see the side of it. One second, I'm just trying to get so I need to redo the naming conventions, but that's not your problem. Anywho, sort by, get this all sorted out with the right thing. Okay, there we go. So the unit they had there was Baldwin number 301. This is an S12. So this is a later model Baldwin. I'll pull this up. This is when Baldwin was trying to like be, they tried to rebrand to have an E. So I think the first time I went there, they had like a Baldwin DS4-4 1500 or something. It was something that was used their previous naming convention, which no one could really understand. I think it was the DS44 1000. Not sure. So yeah. Anyway, S12. They tried to rebrand a little bit to be a little less confusing. S switcher 1200 horsepower, 8-cylinder turbocharged VO diesel. Max RPM was something like 600. These are built like tanks. Back in the day, they were generally known as something that could pull and pull and pull, and you could send that amp meter swirling like a tumble dryer, and it wouldn't damage any of the electrics. Anyway, so here's the S12 number 301. I'm pretty sure this did replace a previous unit, but I don't know if it's still there. There's something there, but I can't remember if I'm remembering the new thing being there being this thing, or if it was something else. It might even be an EMD, unfortunately. Beautiful light this day. Wonderful early winter day. A little bit of leaves going around. What's going on here? Oh, that's the problem. I'm saving it too high a quality. There we go. SMS lines, as you might have noticed, is definitely enjoys the Reading. They have they basically grab the later Reading diesel paint scheme. Ironically, they bought a GP38 that was one of the original PRSL GP38s. And despite having an operation in South Jersey, they sent it to Albany because the guy didn't know. So he unwittingly bought a South Jersey Heritage diesel and then sent it to Albany. But by the time it got up there, there wasn't really anything they could do about it. And, he was like, oh, sorry about that. I mean, if he noticed, he probably would have painted it in PRSL colors, which is pretty much black. Anywho, again, here we have 301. I was just getting some pictures before they started it up for the day. Or it might have already been running. I'm not sure. Here we have a cab view. Here we have the throttle, and this little funny object here, that's a low power creep control. It was an optional extra fitted to some of these for hump yard or other sorts of some sort of various forms of switching stuff, maybe with either gravity yards or something, where if you really needed fine motor control, I mean, this is just a big rheostat. You would just sort of dial in the locomotive's exact speed that you wanted using that rheostat dial. We were told that it was functional, but they really don't have any use for it. It just happened to be in this thing. And again, here we have the full control stand, throttle, and air brakes, independent, train line, etc. The original, I'm pretty sure the original one we were there. I remember going to the cab and seeing the blue car. It had the date was like the 1940s. This is a 1950s locomotive, sometime around 53 or so. Well, the brief window of time before when they switched from the older designations to before they stopped like production in the mid 50s. Pretty simple. I mean, you've got a throttle. There it is. I'm not even sure where the reverser is. SMS has a huge pool of parts. And here again we have the same thing, but you can also see the air gauges. View from the cab engineer side. Beautiful day. I usually get pretty lucky on these SEPTA days. This year was cloudy, but I've had more nice days than not nice days. For a picture presentation point of view, I'm going to keep the framing here because that just looks really nice. And here we have again. Here's our air brake these aren't all air gauges. I'm just gonna say gauges. So here's our gauges. What do we have? Two air gauges, pipe ones for independent and train line brakes, and then we have our amp meter, the all important amp meter. I'm not sure if that's original. Looks original, and it was Westinghouse supplied the electrics for Baldwin's stuff. One of the downsides with Baldwin was, they had a lot of issues in the transition from electric to steam to diesel. But one of them was that they were wholly reliant upon an outside supplier for their propulsion packages, whereas GE supplied Alco, and then GE became GE. And of course EMD, they did their own thing. So, but the Westinghouse equipment in these, from what I've read, was super rock solid. You could abuse the heck out of it, and it would be fine. These are made for very, very low speed lugging, coal trains and stuff like that. And that's sort of a holdover from the steam era, where it was okay for trains to go 15, 20 miles an hour for their entire run. But as you move into the 1960s, or at least into the 50s, trains didn't have to go that slow. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's a handheld radio or is that let me zoom in on that real quick. This is kind of before cell phones became verboten in cabs. So that might have been an actual cell phone there. But in that nice period of time before somebody ruined it for everybody else. And here we have the conductors, or I wouldn't say conductor. This would be a fireman's view, because this engine predates. This is when the conductors would have been in the back. I'm gonna trim this a little bit. I don't think we need all those weeds there on the side of the picture. And by the way, the place where I took this picture, I'm not sure where I took all the other ones. But here we have moved on. We've actually moved right up to the fouling point of the switch onto the Norfolk Southern Morrisville line, or not really. More, I think it was the Fairless branch. So you can zoom in here. So there's the Penn Warner lead. That's the Morrisville line right there. Here's New Jersey Transit's Morrisville yard that they built in the old hump bowl. This is the Fairless branch, and there's the switch connecting it, and then you have a high car detector over there, and there's another non-interlocked thing. Fairless branch parallels the Morrisville line. Oh, never mind. That's just a stub track that dies. So I guess that that's not where the point used to be. I think we could get to go. I think that's where they can hook in. Fairless branch is just diverges there and goes over to serve the steel mill. The steel mill was built in the 50s, but I'm not sure what happened to all the other steel mills. It just sort of couldn't compete in the 80s. So anyway, that's where that picture was taken. This one here, because you can see the connector right there. Here we have New Jersey Transit's then new Morrisville yard. It was not fully complete. So there's the Morrisville line. That's NS Morrisville line. There's the catenary poles and stuff for the Morrisville yard. And if we go over here to the overhead today, you can see. So the Morrisville yard was built in two parts. Part one was these tracks here. Those bunch of tracks were built first. Then they built the second set of tracks to really move all operations out of that Trenton Station area, which was it was a wonder to behold when you were there, but NJT really didn't like it. So in this picture, you can see in 2005 when the yard was new. Oh, wrong thing. That other part of the yard is still fields, and they only had the first half. I think we could go back to that overhead. So yeah, that's what you're seeing there. Oop. I'm just not doing a good job with that today. Straighten this guy out. So I mean, we're not on a joyride here. They're there to work. Now the guy, I forget the name of the guy. I'm sure I wrote it down somewhere. And this be an easy way to find out too. But I'll go into that later. So this guy, he retired, and he was a rail fan, and he'd always wanted to work for. He'd wanted to go. He retired, so he had some retirement income. So he was like, "Oh, I'll go get a job with the railroad." So he signs on. I mean, he's in his 60s. He signs on with CS, or 50s at least, probably 60s. Signs on with CSX. After working, this is when CSX was. The railroads really don't like. If they don't have to hire people, they won't. After working 39 consecutive 12-hour days, he was like nuts to this. And he got a job. He quit and got a job with SMS Lines, where he would only work about 14 hours a week, as opposed to, a jillion hours a week, because he didn't need the money, and he was too old. He was literally too old for that. So, and he just loved this because he would come out, work a couple days a week, isn't 14 hours a week on average, playing trains. He got to be the engineer. And I mean, he qualified as an engineer as opposed to being down the rung on some CSX seniority list. So here we are. I think our task for this day was to... hold on here. The first thing was we had to pull out those tank cars, or I think we had to I forget what they were doing. We had to move something around with those tank cars. Let me see if they're what we're going to get in the next thing. So I'm not sure I'm going to. So anyway, the tank cars. It's unless you're in like something switching tank cars, you don't realize how much the slosh effect is. We had 3 tank cars we were moving, and every time we'd stop, the train was being pulled back and forth, probably around somewhere between 6 inches and a foot or you could feel it. The thing would slosh and just yank the train back and forth an amount of distance. And it was very disconcerting, but I mean, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. But there's no slosh baffles in tank cars, and they were all those were in partial use, so there was a lot of slosh. Really fascinating. Another neat thing was that the locomotive had hardwood floors. Nice hardwood floors. I mean, I think that's I mean, I don't think that was uncommon for the time, but that's insane. I mean, it's the materials. It's another case of the materials of yesteryear. All right, who we got here in the doohickey? We got some people. So, and like I said, for anyone who's in here now, I will be getting to some Amtrak stuff later on. At Bristol, so I will be moving. We move on from this stuff to Thanksgiving Wednesday on the NEC. Oh, I gotta figure out where this is. So let me just the next set of photos is going to be at a location. I just gotta find it. So one of the things the crew was showing that they, although it wasn't exactly kosher, there were places they could do Dutch drops. That's where they did like the safe version of a Dutch drop. Dutch drops is where you accelerate a car past a switch, and then the conductor throws the switch, and the car will then roll under its own momentum into the industrial siding, so you can get behind it. They had one where this track here has a significant enough grade where they will pull it up, move the guy to a safe location. Well, move the train ahead, and then they'd let the car roll down with a rider who would then apply the brake. I forget where they were trying to get that car into. Oh, no, they just needed to move it ahead, I think. So they could put it up there, then move the train back, let the car roll ahead, and then they have it ahead. I think it was to serve that plant. You got to have the cars sort of ahead of you to get on that track, and that might have been with the tank cars. Anyway, this looks like at the oh no, see that's got crossing gates. So I'm just trying to find where this crossing was that I'm getting the picture. Oh, it's got to be that one because that's the only road with a double yellow line. So that's Newbold Road. Okay. Yeah. Yep, that's got to be it. You can see where the curve's in with the thing. So at this point, it didn't have a grade crossing flasher. It looks like they got some money for that at some point. So they were flagging the crossing there. Like I said, the age range of these guys was definitely up with the typical railfan community. just get through some of these here. What else? Yep. Again, flagging complete. Crossing the crossing. This one's a little soft, I'm aware. What the? Come on, what the hell's going on here? Wait, yeah. So we had our little ride out and back, and then we got down to take some pictures the old-fashioned way. Beautiful, beautiful day for the photos. I think I got one of these on railpictures.net back when before their submission criteria or before it became impossible to submit anything without paying them money. Yeah, see, that's the, at least I'm pretty sure that's what they said was the line they used for their gravity drops. All very, very excellent lighting conditions for this time of day, for the time of day and time of year. I don't usually get to be that picky about a lot of rail people out there, they're all, yes. They're the photographer people. They can come out. They can, the closer when you're in the retirement zone, you can go out day after day after day and pick the light you want. I don't have a lot of that time, so. It might not have been. It might not have been this time when we saw the Dutch drop stuff. That might have been the first time we went. Yeah, let's keep this one the way it is. Sorry, it's not a ton to talk about. I sort of went through all my stories there. The older one, they also had to do a lot of weird. So when they were there with like a DS441,000, they would have had this time of year. They would have had they had plastic bags in front of the radiator because it didn't like cold. They had to keep it. There was all sorts of stuff to keep the engine warmer because it didn't start well, and when it was like a little chilly. Nice head-on view here. You can't beat the paint scheme. This is really fresh. Like I said, this has just gotten there that year, so that's why it's all fresh from paint. I don't know what this had been doing before. Wikipedia might know. Most of the SMS, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes they tell you, here we go. 6 intact examples are known to survive. SMS lines operates number 3 and 1. I think I added that one. One unit that was converted from a 441,000. Okay, this page also goes into. Okay, anyway. But yeah, the previous one they had here had all sorts of keep the engine warm aids in the form of plastic sheeting. I think they didn't have a lot to do that day. They just sort of rolled in, moved a couple things, and then rolled right back out again. So anyway, why is this? The history is not working. Anywho, so that's the guy. That was the guy that we know in the window there. Unfortunately, within the year after this, or maybe two, he suffered a stroke on the job, I think, and died. SMS, whatever engine, either this one's called Old Blue, but was either this engine or the one that replaced this engine at Penn Warner was named in his honor. So that's unfortunately the reason that I don't have a whole string of these SMS cab rides going forward. Because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to zoom in here real quick, and I'm going to try to see if I can go to their whatever engine is on Street View, and then see if I can read the name on it. At least I can get there on Street View. Oh, there's the engine. Oh, it's 102. And it's it is still a Baldwin, but I don't think it's the one with the guy's name on it. I used to know his name pretty well. I mean, it used to be on the, off the top of my head, I could tell you his name, but I just can't remember it. Maybe Googling SMS roster will help. Oh, I got a lot here. Oh, Ed Weller. That is the guy's name. Yeah. And he passed away in 2007, so it was 2 years after I got these photos. So, yeah, that's him. That's him in the cab there. And, yeah. Put his name on the thing. The good news is, he absolutely loved it. It's a great job to be able to do. Sort of the gig economy before that was a thing. I mean, it's not going to support you, but if you have a pension or Social Security or whatever, it's great to be able to stay active. You don't want to be that guy that goes into their house and sits there and then passes away and no one notices. So I'm not sure what 301 is doing these days. So this doesn't appear to be. Let me check that overhead now. So that's where the caboose and everything used to be on the old stub track. I don't know where that is now. It might have been. I think they're having issues with some vandalism and had to pull it out. Oh no, they're right there. There it is. Yeah, they have a tool car. And they got the caboose right there. So I have it previously used to live there, but I think being right by the side of the road was kind of an invitation to some vandalism. I think even when I was there in 2005, they were complaining of that. But here we have this was their yard office. The engine, and it would just hook up to this caboose, and the caboose was the office, and they'd do their sign in and all the other stuff. Yeah, this is the day before Thanksgiving. They rolled out. They did their thing. I mean, the guys were even apologizing, like, oh, I don't know if we even have anything today. And then they're like, oh, hey, we can move one thing. And they took us out, and we moved the thing around. We even did some switch maintenance. And the crazy thing is, again, I only took 24 photos of the trip here, thereabouts, of the time with SMS. Today, I would have probably had like 300. Working with the limitations of of the memory cards I had at the time, I had to save them for whatever my other activities that day. 478009 plus SMS 301. And here's their other caboose. I don't know why it's left for Penn, Jersey. I mean, I think that SMS lines went through a number of early naming conventions. Oopsies. This is an old like N11 transfer caboose. These are popular with Conrail. Huh? Oh. Yeah. And that's it for the SMS portion of the show. On our way out, we did pop by Morrisville Yard. And where we didn't roll. I mean, the irony is we went from the cab going by it to sort of not wanting to. This is still in the post 9/11 era. Not wanting to get bitched at, but we got these NS Jeeps right by the thing. Pretty sure these are GP38s. I might overwrite these in terms of the naming stuff. It's pretty clear where they are. I don't think I need to rename them. Yeah, I will. Oh, well, that's that. That's part of that set. Let's see what people are talking about. Yeah, hardwood floors. I just think that, like, back in the 1950s, I mean, you wouldn't have had a lot of today's materials. Your floors are either going to be metal, which would rust, concrete, which has its paint problems, or in this case, hardwood. Oh yeah, I'm doing well where I am. Like I said, I'm in my parents' house. They're not, no one else is here right now, so I'm just here to take care of the place. Yeah, but the floor in 301 was absolutely immaculate, and that was just, that's why I took a picture of the floor. Anyway, starting off again, we're 40 minutes in, and I should probably, it always takes me 2/3 of the time to do the first half of the photos. Probably because I have a lot of setup here. So I didn't take many pictures of the SMS stuff, but I'll take 2 pictures of 5313 here. Do I even need 2? I don't know. This one's a little brighter than the other one. Probably. I got me. At least NS labels their locomotives in a nice, convenient way. Yeah, that's straight enough. Again, these are sort of sitting at the old hump area. I think those single catenaries might have been for the hump. If you want to know where this is, I might as well point it out. Pop up out of the thing here, and yeah, so this is where the yard entrance is, right around there, and we just sort of rolled up on the driveway to get some pictures of stuff. And this is about where the old yard hump would have been. There's been a little bit of reorganization, but I think that's where we were. Oh man, that bridge looks terrible. Is that Route 1? Nah, Route 13. All right. Enough of the thing. Enough of the chit chat. I'm not sure if that old Conrail mast there was for a defect detector or a signal. It's clearly painted like a Conrail signal mast. Not sure. Probably might have been a signal. Who knows? One second. Let me look at the net. Let me look ahead real quick here. Oh yeah, I'm gonna name this one in honor of that Conrail mast. One thing I'll point out. Oh, 5312. I don't know why. I guess that first one. NS seems to. There's a whole bunch of people at NS that seem to like keeping. So here are 5313, and then it's attached or adjacent to 5271, but then over there is 5312. NS loves keeping. It's like I've seen a lot, especially now out of Altoona. A lot of the helpers are what I call siblings. You know, they're matched sets or consecutive serial numbered units. And I've seen that a while. I mean, someone either this guy, you know, something with the local yard guys, or maybe just this one guy that's been moving around. But I've tend to notice a whole bunch of consecutively numbered unit pairs running around NS. Okey-doke. Oh, and hey, something else you got to you used to be able to see back in the day. Conrail painted stuff. Trying to figure out what I want to chop here. Do I need that shed? Does it look weird with half a shed? Extend that up. So this, of course, is a C40-8W. These are the ones that were recently stored and then scrapped or sold. I think they went to GE, who's starting up a rebuild program with the Dash 8s. NS tried a rebuild program with Dash 8s, and it just didn't really go anywhere. So, 80. So that is, 15 years later, it is off the property. But in 2005, you could still see the occasional Conrail unit. And again, I don't think that I don't know if Morrisville's Conrail shared assets or not. I don't think it is, but so I don't know if the sign is just an anachronism or if it's part of SAA. I could find out, but I don't know. I don't. It would take me 5 minutes to go figure it out just to tell you guys, and you guys can use Google just as much as I can. So, $53.13 plus $52.71. Got it. All right. Oh, and I think I did a quick stop by Grundy Tower. This is just an old PRR NEC tower at the Grundy interlocking, which is named for Joseph. It's in Bristol, Pennsylvania. It's called Grundy because Joe Grundy was a guy who he had a pretty big industrial complex with generating a lot of carload freight for the PRR. So you ship enough stuff, they'll name an interlocking after you. Probably could have used the original name. I'll dig it out. There it is. As far as I'm aware, Grundy is still in pneumatic interlocking, which is pretty crazy. So there you go. So good for it, even though it used to be a complete 4-track crossover, and then they clipped it to just a half crossover to do some industrial, to mainly serve the local industry. I don't know if I've ever been on an Amtrak train that's had to cross over there. Yeah, see, there's the name of the on the chimney of the old factory building. If you, I'll hit back. Yeah, see, it's still, if you're going on the NEC, the guy's name is on the chimney in Bristol. I think that's some sort of like urban, it's been redeveloped. I think as condos or a shopping area or something. Yeah, it was a mill. And just a wider shot with the substation there. Not sure if that's probably called Bristol. Amtrak's substation names are pretty done by town. Okay, here we go. So we went over to the Amtrak Bristol, the Bristol train SEPTA stop. I went to Bristol a bunch of years. I thought it was great until I found everything else was better. This was before they put the track fences in. Or Bristol was the one that didn't have the track fences as an oversight, and at some point it does, so now there's no point to really go there. So, but the fact that there's no track fences in these photos, by the way, I'm going to go down to Bristol. There's Levittown. This is the Turnpike Bridge. So, this is Bristol. There's the Bristol train station. Grundy interlocking is up there right under the Pennsylvania Turnpike crossing. The neat part is that the PR had a different alignment through town. In fact, that's where some of the old freight tracks seem to follow that. So there's the old alignment, and then there's the new alignment, and you can just can see how much they improved it. But it's crazy that X hundred years later, the old alignment is still visible on the overhead. Anyway, there's your overhead, and it looks like there is indeed a track fence, but at least at this point, Bristol did not have a track fence. And I'm pretty sure that's why Bob wanted to go there, because he could get unobstructed views. So you have Solid Power car number 2009. Square this off if I can. That's not great. Need more. There we go. Not sure the lighting was entirely the best here. Hey, we just crossed the tracks if we didn't like it. I'm not even sure. I might have just dumped this photo because it was too soft or something. Because it's not in my archives. Yeah, I probably just... So, again, today, this is like... I mean, back in 2005, I'm like, delete, bad photo, screwed up the timing. But now I'm like, okay, well, whatever. But it still shows Acela Express 2020 as it looked in 2005. It's not gonna make anybody's top 10 photo lists, but it's still a pretty valid historical record. Of course, any of these things with AEM7s, lighting was fine here. I mean, it could have been better. It wasn't quite. So anyway, I used to go to Bristol. Now I'm pretty sure they have track fences there now. So my choice, I went to Levittown for a bit. That's good. It's got signals there at the end of the platform. But I've now recently discovered Croydon. that has this astonishing brew pub. Oh, it's wonderful. Right next to immediately adjacent to the station. And you can be doing your train thing, and then so I'm noticing that back in the day you do your train thing, then go get lunch and a beer. This is where I'm starting to notice. So back in the day, I had a picture of Amtrak 941. Oh, Amtrak 941, no location data in the file name. This is where that system started breaking down, because I'm noticing that I've seen all this stuff before. So it's like, oh, Amtrak 2020A, Amtrak 941A. Everything's got an A or a B after it because I've seen everything so much. And this is where it's like, oh, this system is broke. I'm just going to put the location here going forward. But it's one of those things you don't think about when you're 18 or under 18 and just need a file name. It's like new text document 1. Who hasn't had that problem? I think there was an XKCD on that. Yeah, light was definitely better in one direction than the other. This is almost where cloudy days have an advantage. I want to get that catenary pole, but no, it doesn't off-balance the photo. You got my sort of rule of thirds going there. Oops. Oops. This was right after the AC conversion in Phase 5 paint scheme, and they already looked dingy. I mean, this was not that long. I mean, that was all done around 2000 to 2002, and this is 2005, and they're dirty as heck. All right, I didn't want to screw that one up there. This is one of the I forget how many AM7s Amtrak ordered initially. It was something like 40x. 2 got destroyed at the Chase, Maryland crash in the late 80s. They glommed onto the SEPTA order and got like 5 more or something. It's in the thing. These are the ones where I don't think the body shells weren't made by Bud. They had to be made by the Brazilian firm that was Bud's licensee because Bud went bust. So this one does look nice and shiny and new, probably because they were the last. They weren't rebuilt. They weren't given an AC rebuild. The 50s, 50 to 53, and I think a couple others in that high number range. And those are the ones that got scrapped. They were the last ones built, and they were the first ones scrapped, or one of the first ones scrapped because they never got the rebuild. All right, yeah, that's a pretty nice picture there. All right, this one's gonna go a little over time, because I have a few extra photos in this set. So sorry about that, if anyone. But maybe you're not maybe you don't have anything better to do today. But it'll go pretty quick. Like I said, it's mostly all this stuff. I'm gonna leave this extra. See, this lighting's terrible. But I'm gonna leave this extra station content in there to help mix it up a bit. So this is I think this is the first time we went out to do the NEC photos. This is why it became a tradition. It's just sort of it's like shooting fish in a barrel on Thanksgiving Wednesday. Come on, what's going on? There it goes. You just go out there, you get the extras. Unfortunately, I have no idea what these are. Today I have my video camera. I take note. Mainly I take notes via my video camera. I strap a GoPro to myself when I do this with a body mount, and I can do both video and stills. And I just tell myself on the video the parts that I cut out for. I don't put on YouTube. I edit those. I edit them out. I just want you just tell yourself what the trains are, because at the time I know what they are. I'm tracking it. I'm tracking it on the train tracker, and that's where I know what the specials are. Just getting a little end of train action. The other thing that you get is SEPTA locals, which on most weekdays are every half hour on the Trenton line. So that's nice because you're out there. When you're out there, oops, what the heck did I just do? When you're out there for 2 or 3 hours, you'll start seeing the same train sets. It'll come up, then about 40 minutes later, it'll go back the other way. This one they're still using the R system that I refuse to use, the which I still cling to. I liked the R system. Did I check out what was up in the dash here? Oh, I'm sorry. I need to check back to the chat. Oh wow, lots of stuff. A lot of the PR towers are in good condition on the NEC, not just that one. Yeah, sorry. This is part of the NEC. It's between Philly and Trenton. It's in the New York it should be in the Metropolitan Division. The division post is right north of Holmes. Below that's Mid-Atlantic Division. I don't know what it was in the PRR's time. Yeah, Amtrak got rid of it. It's the AM7s back in 2016. They got money to get the sprinters. We're able to consolidate on those. Amtrak, if Amtrak knows that if it gets money, it needs to spend the money, even if the AM7s could have gone a few more years. That's cool. Yeah, it's cool if Caltrain runs a bunch of them, or those two. It'll also be neat. There's a whole bunch of them went to some dude in Rhode Island. I don't know what he's doing with them. Yeah, we'll see what's up with those Chargers. I've heard that there's been issues. They seem to be the shoo-in for getting the contract, but I don't know what's up with that. All right, here we go. Bristol Station, lovely building. Like all the other ones, it has a coffee shop. It's a coffee shop now. Well, today it's probably nothing. But they're either coffee shops or professional offices. This one happened to be, I'm pretty sure, was a coffee shop. I'll label this as a PR. And here we have the SEPTA stations. Yep, no track fences. Woo! Westbound shelter? Yeah. So yeah, I went to Bristol for a bunch of years, and then I sort of gave. Then I realized that we can go to other places. Here I just grabbed a picture of this sort of one half of an impedance bond. I'm not sure what it's there for. Probably grounding out the. Oh yeah, it's probably something with return traction current. There wasn't a substation here. But usually when you have this sort of just plugged into the tracks and then things coming out, it's electrically earthing the tracks for the traction current. This is an old school impedance bond too. And for those of you who don't know, an impedance bond basically allows the traction current to pass through it, but not the cab signal current, or it allows 25 hertz traction current to pass through, but not the 90 hertz cab signal current. Normally they're in pairs at either side of a rail joint, but this one, and you also see them at substations. Well, when you're at Levittown, you're really close to Trenton. So the way it works is a SEPTA train tends to arrive at Trenton, and then another one leaves not very long after. So you saw 137 zipped up to Trenton, and then probably the next train that we saw was this one coming back, or one of the next trains was this one, because they tend to leave right after. Then they have a whole layover, like a half-hour layover for the crew to do whatever they want to do. Nice picture here of 20. What the heck? Come on. There's all sorts of weirdness going on with my Paint Shop Pro today. I should probably restart it, but I'm not gonna disrupt the stream here for that. Huh. There we go. Still not great, but I that's better. I really don't like chopping off like an insulator in the middle, but that train, you got to try to have the train somewhat properly framed. All right, looking good. And on the other end was 2034. For all the lack of zoom, my original Olympus, I really liked it. The color correction was, or the color rendering was great. And I had no idea I had very little idea of what I was actually doing back then. But for an early model digital camera, I really loved the heck out of it. I still have it somewhere. That's something else I'll mention. I really hate those LED headlights on the ASC 86s. Back when the Sprinters and the AM7s were still running in mixed company, the AM7 headlights were clearly brighter. They would blow out, either whatever photo or video I was taking. And the Sprinter ones just don't. I don't know what they look like from the cab, but from the ground point of view, you don't get this effect where it's blowing out the sensor there. You don't get any lens flare with those LED headlights at all. Can I get a little bit better? I don't want to blow out the whole rest of that. Do I dare magic wanding that in there? Yeah, that worked a bit better. And after this, we'll just have one additional quick set. Yeah, here we have 944. Looks a little less dirty. I'm not sure if it was like, if it's just the flat front with more bug splatter or something, but the AM7s always seem to be, at least with this Phase 5. I don't mind the Phase 5 scheme as a paint scheme, but the AM7s always look dirty. Yeah, today when I'm doing these photos, I'll have like 5 photos of every train that passes. Far away, closer, less close, etc. Ooh, yay, some Burlington Bristol Bridge photos that are terrible. I have way better ones. I have way better photos of this on my cell phone. Burlington Bristol Bridge, for those of you who don't know, it's a toll crossing of the Delaware between Burlington and Bristol, Pennsylvania. Burlington, New Jersey, Bristol, Pennsylvania. It is a vertical lift drawbridge, one of the longest spans in the country, somewhere north of 500 feet horizontal clearance. Very, very, very narrow bridge. Very narrow. Trucks, any loads over like 12 feet need to get an escort. No medians. Not even there's not even room for a double yellow line. So just grabbing a quick photo here. Can I even find this? Not sure what to call it. Hey, here's some better pictures of it. But I don't know what to... Well, I mean, I recently got some other photos of it, too. In fact, that's why I have this stuff up. Let me see what I renamed it recently. Oh, I should mention, I've gotten all my backlog photos re-uploaded, if anyone cares. I'm prefixing it with New Jersey here. I guess the other one should be PA. But anyway. All my photos from that I had basically almost every, all the stuff I've reprocessed up through 2006, and then everything from 2006 to today is now online at the redoveryellow.com/positionlight archive. So they're all there. I've been using this time away from work to get all the stuff uploaded. So you can see the whole archive is there. I had to eliminate the HTML landing pages because there's an absolute file size limit. But I mean a file number limit, not a size limit. So I had to go and reconfigure that. But it's all up there, so if you want to go through and peruse any of my older stuff without commentary, it's all there. So I'll make that. I'll mention that again toward the end of the thing. So now we're down to our last set here. I'm just going to pull it up and see what's up in the chat. Yeah, I don't know what the yeah, I forget which ones, because the ACs weren't a block. It was like a few from here and a few from there got the AC treatment. Then Amtrak ran out of money. I know the very, very last ones, like 950 to 953, were unrebuilt, and they were falling apart. Yeah, I don't know what's up with the dirt. I think it has something to do with that flat front. Maybe with I don't know. I don't know. Just like with the way rain hits it or something. I'm not a huge. I don't mind the Bombardier bi slash multi slash split levels. Um, I don't know what to say. They aren't the worst thing in the world. Especially since you still have, it doesn't have. It's not pure quarter point. So yeah, I don't. I mean, we'll have to see what happens with NJT. Honestly, I'm upset. My only problem with NJT is they're not ordering enough of them, because they're only going to be replacing a fraction of the Arrow 3 fleet because their addiction to the push pulls. Who knows what's going to even get replaced? I don't know who's going to be. I mean, are people going to be still riding transit in a year? I don't know. Are people going to be living in cities in a year? I don't know. Just another quick picture from the Burlington-Bristol Bridge showing the control hut and the span. Yeah, it's a fun bridge to cross. I think the toll's a lot cheaper than the lower crossings on the Delaware. Might be $3. I feel like I didn't. Yeah, that's a problem. I might want to just do this one a little bit better. Get that glare out of there. Sort of distracting. Leaving some of the dashboard. Yeah, that looks better. Yeah, it's actual photo editing tip. It's usually a good idea to cut out extreme glare. All it does is tend to distract. It grabs the eye. Okay, here we go. Good, get rid of that. Stopped off at the SJ, the South Jersey Light, whatever, the River Line. I don't think I'm gonna crop this out. I think it's a fine photo. 3507A. I wonder what they're gonna do with those. That's the thing. It's like things like that. They sneak up on you from for the vehicles on that. I think they're gonna need to re-engine them at some point. Yep. 3512 is the second one there. Same lighting problems I was getting at the Amtrak Bristol station too. Let me do a quick rotate on this, get it a little straighter. 3512B. Yeah, I think that these stay. They don't think there's a place these can Y. I don't know why I did this. Riverline is a north-south direction railroad, even though the parallel NEC is east-west. This is interesting. These signals are still there, but they added like one. I think it's like a whole, because there's the approach to the Burlington-Bristol Bridge. I'm sort of getting to the end here, but I'll show you guys a little more stuff. So there's Burlington, Bristol, PA, Burlington, New Jersey, downtown Burlington with a downtown Riverline station. Here's that Burlington South where they could actually put a park and ride in. I need to fix that. So this is where I am. So right there's a crossing through this sort of traffic circle-y thing. And the interlocking used to stretch from there all the way down to the switch. Now part of that is because the Riverline does use signal overlaps. So that means they can use the IATS as an automatic. Their automatic train stop actually stops the train. Because you have sufficient between the signal and the fouling point of the first trailing point switch, there's sufficient stopping distance for a train to be stopped and tripped. But for I'm pretty sure it was just something with the traffic control or holding something with the interlocking the crossing. They wanted to put a second pair of signals in, which is worthwhile because I was just there this past year. So first off, that's CP 175, milepost 17.5. Come on. Okay, there it goes. So they put in this little extra dwarf signal. I'm not quite sure why. So here you have the sort of the same location. Those signals are still there. There's the crossing, and then they put a second signal in. Probably I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe they had. I don't get it. I'm sure there's a reason. It might have just been if there's a train. I bet I know of maybe if there's a train waiting, it can get through the crossing. If it's at the station, I bet the crossing's activated. So this means that if there's a train that the approaching train has to wait for, it can creep up on this inner signal. Gates can go back up, and it can wait here for the opposing move to go through that downtown. That's what it is. So it'll get a slow approach on that first outer signal, and then it'll come up to that inner one, which wasn't here in 2005. So previously, when you would have a train waiting for a meet, I bet the crossing would stay active, and the cars would be pissed off. So, anyway, it's neat because you got that little dwarf to display, displaying the medium approach with the flashing green. All right, I'm going to see what I can get here with crop all this junk. Well, I'm not going to be able to crop it resizing not necessary. This is as small as it's going to get. So, SJLR, CP 175, northbound. This is the downside of the 3x zoom. There we go. And here we have the second track displaying a medium approach medium. Riverline was one of the places. Conrail wasn't really a fan of medium approach medium. Norfolk Southern doesn't mind it. Conrail had its own things that it liked, but Riverline, the Riverline, when they did their thing, they made a lot. One of the few places, at least when it went in, that we could frequently see medium approach mediums, because they have a lot of these single track bottlenecks. So there's not opposing traffic, but he's got to go from double to single to double back to back. Not sure what track that would be. I'm going to make a guess and saying it's probably the same track as is on the PRR. But what would that be? That would be track one. Almost done. Oh, this is neat. This is neat. This is the Riverline's intrusion detection system signal. So from the back, it looks like an ordinary safe train version of a PR position light. This is the one at I think up at the 36th Street station. So anyway, from the back, what is this thing? From the front, oh, this is a Cove Road. It's a displaying restricting and IDS. Well, what's going on here? So part of the whole, like, when the FRA was flexing its, light rail isn't safe stuff unless you do these 5 things. One of the 5 things they had to do was install an intrusion detection system around Pavonia Yard. So what the FRA was worried about was that if there was a derailment in Pavonia Yard that fouled the Riverline tracks, a Riverline thing would plow into the derailed car, and because they're light rail vehicles made in Europe, they would turn into confetti and kill a bunch of people. The IDS were either a physical or I'm pretty sure it's a physical, some sort of system, either wires, physical wires, or light beams. But light beams seems like they'd be something that would be too easily set off. That if there's an intrusion detected, this goes from the little white slash to a red restricting. So it goes from the slow approach to a red restricting, and these are all along the line. And the Riverline trains just know if they see that this goes to red restricting, that they need to stop. There's a rare signal to get, an IDS signal displaying its stop indication. I'm not sure how you'd ever get that, but that's a rare one. They got to test it. I'm sure they do. Oh, here we go. And just one more. I'm pretty sure this one is still there. And these are located, some number of. There's one at 36th Street. There's a bunch of these. They're every half mile, quarter mile, whatever it has to be. There's a lot of neat stuff on that light on the Riverline that they did. In fact, I don't mind that the light. It's not the worst idea in the world. Riverline's a great example of what you can get when you have smart people, smart consultants at least, finding ways to both improve safety and performance. For example, Riverline has normally when you pass an approach signal on NORAC, you got to slow to medium speed, 30 miles an hour. But Riverline, because the LRVs have such shorter stopping distances for this mixed traffic thing, there's a little sign where the LRVs can pass an approach, and they only have to stop braking when they pass this little red LRV disc, a little sign that says LRV. So they really were thinking on the ball with that line. Wait, 999 cars? What? Well, anyway, that's sort of the end here. Thanks everybody for sorry if you noticed this late. At this point in time, I will likely be doing another stream in 2 weeks, Friday evening, which would be May 1st. Will be the next one. If you missed anything, this will be on YouTube eventually. I am trying to get content. I'm going to be on the NEC tomorrow down by Davis interlocking. I'm hoping with no one around I can go do a walkabout and get some close-up pictures of Davis Tower. But Delaware apparently is being a little unhospitable to out-of-state people right now, but I think I can sneak through. Anyway, that's what I have for now. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It's hour and a half, so I really got to get rolling here. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe, everybody. Do what you can to stay productive. Sell stuff on eBay, make some masks, who knows what. And I will talk to you, and I'll see you later.